Hi, Luke. How are you?
I'm great. I'm
Good. So
great.
lovely
Thank
to
you
be.
for taking this is the beginning of my morning. And
Oh,
obviously it's
is
your
it?
afternoon, but thanks for taking the time to
It
warm me
is
up.
uh 3:20
320.
here.
320. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
It's good
6 hours.
beginning.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
It's lovely to be speaking to you again. And
Yeah.
about I gather you are touring Little Drummer Boy again this year, but I also
Yep.
a little birdie tells me that you've not actually done any touring at all this year or
No,
for the
not this
last
year.
year. Talk me through what you've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, last year actually, the UK has a big part to play in this break, and obviously our new song as well. Part of it was we were over there promoting our movie Unsung Hero. While we were there, I had a discussion with Joel, and we were talking about the next year. And I was like, "Hey, man, we put out an album this year. We put out a movie this year. We've toured this year. Basically, I'm cooked. I don't know about you, and I think that we need to, have a little bit of a break." And so I was saying, "Hey, man, what if we take off from touring, not working, but from touring? Let's take 6 months and let's just see how it goes." And for whatever reason, he was like, "Nah, let's do a year." And I totally didn't see that because I thought he probably actually wanted to just keep working. So anyway, we took off January of this year, and that's usually kind of just a low season for us. We just kind of chill, recuperate a little bit, and then we started going into the studio, working on a new record, and then we've also been developing a film called Drummer Boy that hopefully will be filmed actually in Ireland the first quarter of next year. And so all of those things, the development of those things takes a lot of time, and so that's what we've been kind of working on in town. We've been working, just not on the road, and kind of almost treating it a little bit like a 9 to 5, which has been kind of nice and refreshing.
I also gather you've had the premiere for your documentary
Yeah,
very recently. Was that last night?
yeah. That was
Last
last
week?
night. You're on it. Well done. Well done.
Talk me through that and what's it about and how was the event?
Yeah. Yeah, look, so we told that made this movie Unsung Hero, which is really about our parents' story coming from Australia to America and kind of our sisters' rise into music, but it doesn't really tell the Faki and Country story. So we had a lot of people saying, "Well, what happened with Faki and Country after that? Like what was what was our, start and our development?" And so it's actually been in the makings for quite a few years, and it is just about the fragility of a new beginning, the fragility of a dream. Because, I think everybody thinks that once you've made it in any enterprise, you had this great idea and you kind of certainty, but it's all very sensitive. It's all very, maybe, I hope, people, will ask you like, well, what are you working on? What are you doing? Well, I'm working on music. Oh, do you think it's going to work? I can't tell you. I hope, and so, but it's an emotionally wrecking piece. And what I mean by that, it's actually extremely uplifting and powerful, but it to reflect on it and to live it again, because there's people don't know, but there's a lot there. There's a lot of bumps in those early, few years, which is really about 6, 7 years of developing what is now for King and Country, and then really the begin, kind of the first record. That period of time was pretty difficult, and so this film project tells the story of that.
Obviously, I haven't seen the film, but were you
Yeah,
able to sort of gather all the people who you worked with to start your
yeah.
career with and sort of ask them questions about how they experience those moments?
Yeah, it's all in there. Yeah, and then last night, to your point about the premiere, they were all there, and some of these people, for many many years, just for one individual, is a man named Mark Bright that was there last night. He's the guy that signed us to our record deal, and we had gone around all the labels and done showcases and done all these different things, and everyone said there'll come a time where one person will just hear something and they'll just sign you. And I was like, but man, we've played all of these showcases. I mean, we've done it all. It feels like we've done it at all at this point. And we had just gotten turned down by Atlantic Records, actually. We come back into town. We're back in the studio working on new music. And this guy calls. He's like, "I've heard your music. I want to sign you." I'm like, "Wait, what?" We've been working on this for 6, 7 years. And just like that. And that's basically how it worked. And so, to visit some of these friendships, some of these people that sometimes some of them are not in the industry anymore. They've just changed things entirely to be able to say thanks, to be able to reminisce, to be able to kind of, in some cases, even heal some of those wounds because there were some difficult moments in those times. Some friendships got a little frayed because of the difficulty of it all, and to rekindle that stuff and kind of say, "Well, look at what's all happened now." It was a real joy.
Yeah. Last year when I spoke to you, you were about to play at the O2 in London.
Yeah, yeah.
And can you remember what that was like? The sort of the experience of playing to a big crowd at the O2 was like.
Yeah, look, I just said this on a previous call. You know, if I had one regret of Fakir and Country's kind of career endeavors so far, it would be that we've not done more international touring. We have done international touring. We just haven't done it to develop it the way that maybe we have in Australia or the way that we have over here in the States. And I think that's been a mistake. I don't think that was that we should have probably done a better job of it. And so for us to go and take basically outside of Canada and do our first international Christmas show. Obviously, we played the UK quite often, but first international Christmas show at the O2 was really great because you realize that Christmas is at some level cultural to your area, and so what are the songs that they're singing here? What are the differences and the different things? And so, ironically enough, to go and just sing some of the greatest songs ever written. You're talking about songs that are hundreds of years old. The Beatles are attributed as the greatest songwriters to ever live, and their songs are 60 years, 70 years old, which tells you if we're still listening to them at that old, that's pretty impressive. Christmas songs are got multiples on that, which tells you the quality and the power of those songs. And so to see it, cross oceans, I think it was wonderful. It was great to be with you guys.
Did that make you want to play more in the UK
Yeah,
and
yeah,
possibly tour more in the UK and
yeah,
Ireland? Because Ireland is
yeah,
also a huge
yeah.
market.
Yeah, no, I would say undoubtedly. And yeah, I think in the coming years, you're going to start to probably, hopefully, see us out and about, yeah, over big oceans a little bit more, which I think which will be a very special thing.
And do you tour at all in Australia? Do you have like a
Yeah,
huge following over
yeah,
there? What's it
yeah, yeah.
like?
Australia is probably our second, largest market when it comes to at least shows. Anyway, we went back there a couple of years ago and played Brisbane. I think we had 10,000 people in the arena in Brisbane. So it's one of the, but we've done now 3 or 4 tours back there. So, we've slowly built, that thing back there. And so, yeah, we've done quite a lot.
What are the main differences between the
Yeah.
Australian public and the American public? Because they are very, we probably have more in common with Australian public in the
Yeah, of
UK. Yeah.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that because they get a little bit less of, in America, I mean, in any weekend, there's an unbelievable amount of music, and from the biggest stars in the world. It's just there, and if they're not in your town, they're at the next town. And you could drive a few hours and you could go see them. So in some cases, America has become very spoilt. Don't tell them I said that, but very, very spoilt in many ways, probably, but particularly in music. And so when we go and play places like the UK or we go to Australia, there's just this great, hey, thanks for coming. And so then because they're so excited for you to be there, there's a rowdiness, there's an energy level that is pretty otherworldly. You know what I mean? And because they don't take it for granted, they're thrilled to be there. And yeah, the international audiences, as far as just the participation into the event, to the night, far better than the Americans. But don't tell them don't tell the Americans I said that.
I want to go back to what I was talking to you about taking the year off. Not taking a year off working, but taking a year
Yeah,
off
touring. Yeah.
touring. What main differences did you observe in your own day-to-day life whilst doing that? Did you feel like it was something you really, really needed for your family unit as well?
I think I did. One of the things that surprised me was I think I got into March. So I think, you're getting into the third month. And I still felt this anxiety is a word that's thrown around a little bit too much, maybe, but this like I'm gonna have to go this weekend, like that I couldn't escape. it was very, very strange. Like, and that's been what I realized. That's been my rhythm at some level since I was 10 years old. So I'm 39, now, so nearly 30 years of this, and you gear up for it, So the rhythm when you're touring, and we don't tour all the time, but when you're touring is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and usually come back from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so, on Wednesday morning, you've just kind of survived Monday and Tuesday, and you've got to go back out the road again. And then everybody else is working, and we're working when nobody else is working. So Saturday and Sundays we're working, and nobody, and so um, that was surprising to me. Is that in some cases my cells had been programmed? You're about to go. You're about to go. You're about to go. And so it took a while for there to be this stillness. And I think sometimes it's a little bit like a salad dressing. When you put a salad and you put salad dressing on it, you're not really tasting the salad. But if you remove the dressing, you actually taste it. And I think that's what I felt a little bit like with slowing down. It was like, I'm tasting life right now.
Mm. Talk us through your new single, World on Fire. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Can you
World on
tell
Fire.
us about it?
Yeah, yeah. It's actually once again, it's somewhat inspired by you, UKans, in that we came to Oxford actually to visit when we were over there last year promoting Unsung Hero. And a friend of ours said, "Hey, do you want to go visit Oxford?" And we're like, "Is the Pope Catholic?" Of course. And so we go to Oxford, and you're seeing. What I love is they're like, "This is the newest college here at Oxford, and this building was built in 1598." And you're like, "Oh, we don't have anything that old in Australia or America." Like it's that's so it's very cool. But we come to this little area where the asphalt, the pavement stops, and there's cobblestone, and there's an X in the middle. And we were like, what's with the X? It's kind of strange, right? And they said, "Oh, do you know about the Oxford Martyrs?" I was like, "No, I've never heard about the Oxford Martyrs." And there were two folks, Hugh Latimer and Nicholas Ridley, that were burnt at the stake, and this was kind of a small like memorial to remember them. And so I'm homeschooled, so I get on Wikipedia and I'm reading all of the, what's been going on. And what happened is that right before they were going to be burnt at the stake, Hugh Latimer actually turned over to Nicholas Ridley and he says, "I pray that by God's grace that we will light such a candle this day that I hope will never be put out." And I remember thinking to myself, wow, how bright's my candle? We sing this song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let," and it's adorable, right? But the hope is that as you mature, that light's not so little anymore. And I think what I left the UK with was that question of like, oh man, what am I doing what am I doing to ignite a brighter flame in my life? And if it's bright, we'll go put it on a hill. We'll let it shine out. And so that's really what inspired this song, "World on Fire."
Let me ask you about the documentary again. When is
Yeah,
that? When can we expect it internationally or to be
yeah,
released,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, and one of the exciting parts about this, speaking of international relations and even touring and just being out and international a little bit more, it will release November 23rd on Prime Video. So obviously through Amazon. Over here in the States, it's through Prime Video, but on like a separate little thing called the Wonder Project. But yeah, it'll be coming out worldwide on the 23rd, which is one of the first times that we've been able to be a part of a project that basically is immediately worldwide, because of all the, distribution complications. It's very easy to release it one place, and then it's pretty easy to release it in one other place. But to do it all around the world, we've never been able to do that before. And so, yeah, we're really thrilled to be able to kind of bring this story to the world.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time and lovely to speak to you again. I mean, we've got like a yearly rendezvous now talking
Yes,
to guys,
yes.
talking to you guys. Yes, lovely. And have fun on your tour, on your Christmas tour. And hopefully I can speak to you when the movie is released.
We would love it. Thank you, Linda. We'll make
Yeah.
this a annual or biannual event. All right.
Right.
All right. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Emma.
it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!